Welcome back, everyone, to episode 35 of the Jader and Kyle show. It's coming to you a little sooner than later, guys. We just, got to fit in our schedules. I got a busy week this week, but it's always good to be back. Always good to be talking to you guys, and always good to see you, Jader. How's everything going?
Long time no see, sir.
Right? It's been like 3 days.
3 days. I'm good, man. Busy as hell this week, dude. Super busy.
Yo, can I tell you a story about what happened recently?
Absolutely.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So the last episode we did was Horrible Bosses. And recently I had my coworker, one of my good friends, she got fired a couple of days ago for something bullshit that didn't even happen. Something really stupid. And she works with the job I'm with right now. Yep. Something that didn't even happen, but she got fired for it. So I didn't even realize doing Horrible Bosses was kind of like a sign of of the circumstance I was in before we did the show. But then we did the show. I took some shots while I was in the show. We had a good time.
Oh, no. Very brief interruption, I promise you.
Yeah.
Someone literally texted me and they were like, saw the shade you threw from the Horrible Boss episode. They're like, I couldn't agree with you more. I know that was like the bane of your existence. And I was like, yeah, man. I was like, no names were thrown. They're like, no, you did it very classy. So
it's funny the way you bring it up because the day after, my boss drives a half hour with his newborn child to see me at work. It's like, so I listened to your show for the first time the other day on my way here. I'm like, oh, really? Which episode did you listen to? Of course I know what episode he listened to. It was Horrible Bosses. And I'm thinking to myself, I took some shots at you. I didn't say your name, but you know exactly what you did. And he's like I thought I'm about to lose my job at this point, or at least I'm going to get reprimanded something. And he's like, I deserve those shots. What I did wasn't right. I'm like, oh
shit.
Yeah. So
nice.
I dodged the bullet with that last episode, but
that's why I'm very quiet about the shit sometimes, man. I mean, it was obviously the subject that we were talking about, and we always try to relate the movies that we see with real life situations. So that's kind of what happens. It is what it is. But that's why I'm kind of quiet about some of this shit. But that's good. I mean, I
was feeling some anger going into it, so I just kind of had to let loose. But I never expected them to listen to an episode.
Of course.
Now you're gonna do it, okay?
He got that phone call. He was like, "Dude, I think you gotta listen to this fucking show."
I know. Imagine if we did Horrible Bosses 2 tonight.
Oh no.
Yeah, that'll be fair. But anyway, Jader, be quiet. What are you doing here? We're professionals. Anyways, Jader, so what's been going on? You say you're really busy lately. Everything's been going good in your world, though.
So far so good. At least this week, man. This week has been awesome. We've been so busy. The only
you went quiet. You're muted. You're muted right now. Hold on. Jader, you muted your mic. Yeah, you got unmuted. Sorry, guys. This is live.
I'm so sorry. No, I don't know what happened. Anyways. But yeah, we've been very, very busy. The only thing that sucked is yesterday out of all freaking day, we were the busiest on Sunday, right? People were coming in nonstop. Our systems went down. All of T-Mobile went down from like 2:30 to like we closed. So no one can finance anything. Everything was either bought outright or they had to go home. I had like 3 customers literally dish out like $1,000 for iPhones because they were in desperate need. Like they had no phone and they had no other choice. So busy as hell. It sucked. Yesterday was the only day that was kind of like, man, but I mean, we've been super busy, which I thank God for, because usually January kind of dies down after Christmas. But it's been great, man.
Well, even though we're busy, we still make time to do the show, still make time to see you guys, and we are joined by a special guest today. Someone that you might be familiar with if you're fans of the Schmodown. If not, he's going to introduce himself to you guys today. Please welcome James White to the Jader and Kyle show. James, welcome.
Thanks, man. Thank you guys for having me. It's an honor to be on the show. Happy to be here.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for jumping. It's a pleasure to have you. I know you and I guess we were all in the same area at the same time at one point that we didn't realize it. So, I mean, Jader, if you want to take it from here, back when you first got your part in the Schmodown.
Yeah, we were just discussing this backstage when I was introducing you guys, but pretty much James was the second person that I talked to right after I had. I mean, after I had met Christian and Dan Murrow and Roca and them. But yeah, he just walked over to me and I was honestly like shook at that time. It was an unreal experience. And I remember I had a beer in my hand and I was just like, oh my God, like I needed to down that beer. And James came up to me and he's like, hey man, congratulations, you killed it up there, and so on and so forth. I honestly thought you were like a rookie as well in the Schmodown, since you were hanging with the Schmodown crew and all that. I thought you were part of it, and I was like, why don't I know this guy? I'm like, have I missed like? But I was like, all right, again, you were very nice, and but I had no idea. So how did you come? Like when you were in Orlando, you had already known. You said you were hanging with Dan Murrow and Roca and Emma Fife and them. How did you come about? How did you find this? Tell us your story, bro.
Well, I can't even remember how I found the Schmodown. It was just one of those things where it just popped up into my feed. I was like, I love trivia, I love movies. Holy shit, this is perfect. So I was watching everything, and I was always a big Screen Junkies fan of Dan Murrow when they were doing movie fights. So when he first came on to the Schmodown in a big way in like season 3 when he was playing against Cameo, that first big match. That was I think my first introduction into it. I think I had seen a couple clips from like the season 1, season 2 in the AfterBuzz Studios.
Yeah.
But that's when I really got interested in watching it and started watching it a lot. But I got like myself kind of into the community because I became friends with Janine. Janine and I would talk on Twitter and stuff about like movie fights and things like that. We became Twitter friends. And so when I got out a chance to go to a live event out in LA, I think it was the second live event they did. And I ran into Janine. We hung out there and she got to bring me back and introduce me to some people. So she definitely got my foot in the door, being able to meet people and kind of get into the community a little bit that way. And then I came out again for Free for All when they did Free for All at the El Portal, and that was just the best, man. Everybody was there, so I got to meet everyone and introduce myself and got to hang out. I was up in the balcony with all the competitors, so we were standing next to each other, answering the questions as they came. So I got to like show that I knew a little bit of what I was talking about there, and it kind of got my name into some ears around the backstage. So that way I was trying to get my foot into the door and get my place into the league, man.
So how did it actually? I'm sorry to interrupt, Kyle, my bad. So how did it actually happen? Who gave you that phone call? Like, hey, you're gonna be in the draft. What's going on? How did that go?
It didn't. So yeah, I was just playing in some matches in some of the leagues, and I wasn't winning any championships or anything there. So I was just trying to hopefully get drafted. But some friends of mine spoke highly enough of me that it got me at least into like the draft mind. And then I don't know, Robert Burnett was just kind of crazy and took me super early. Like
you were sitting like 2 seats away from me, right? And me and you had already talked to each other. We said hello that day, and we're catching up and all that. And I was like, all right. So I'm like, and in my head, I'm like, man, I really hope he gets drafted. But I didn't know how soon we would get drafted. I'd honestly even told Kyle, I'm like, I think I'd go in the 6th round. I'm like, just because there was buzz around my name, and I felt like I feel like Christian did kind of like push my name out there on SEN from what he had seen and whatnot, and I appreciate everything he's done for me so far. But I honestly think that there was some buzz, right? I didn't know, because I and this is a common mistake that has happened over and over again. People think that I come from the fan leagues. I didn't. Right. I've never played in the fan leagues. And I knew you had some hype around you through the fan leagues, right? Because when your name got addressed that you were going to be in the draft, like we had already been friends on Facebook and Twitter and all that. And, your name was circling around. I'm like, all right, so people know him, but I had no idea. They're like, no, dude. And then he took you second. I was like, what the fuck is going on, dude? I was like, this is fucking insane. I know. I remember because again, you were it was me, Silvestrini, Janine, and then you. So you were like three
Yeah.
people away from me, right? And when I turned and looked at you, you had this shocked fucking face, like
I had the same look on my face as you did when I ran into you in Orlando.
yes, dude,
Yeah.
exactly.
A deer in the headlights. What the hell just happened? Look.
What the hell just happened? And everybody was like, "What the fuck did he like?" Insane,
me more so than
dude.
anybody. Trust me.
Yeah.
Look, I went into the draft with the exact same mindset as you. Like I flew out because I wanted to hang out with my friends,
Of course,
go to the draft, and hopefully get drafted. It's like
I
was
would-
like, all right, if I get picked in the 7th, 8th round, just somebody takes a flyer on a new guy, it's fine. That's what I'm looking for. I was not expecting to be picked in the 2nd round. I will tell you that.
Round, dude. Yeah, man. You got imagine. You speak. You were talking about Janine introducing you. Janine got drafted in, I think, in the 3rd or something. So the Trini was in the 4th or something like that.
It was ridiculous, and I apologized to Janine. I was like, "There's no reason for me to be picked ahead of you."
Yeah, no,
I was like, I have not proven myself whatsoever.
I mean, that honestly wasn't even your fault. It's out of your control.
We all know that Robert Meyer Burnett does some crazy things, and somebody probably just mentioned my name in passing, and he was like, "All right, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to shock the world and just do this." And there it is. It just happened to be me that got dragged into it.
Yeah, bro. No,
it's funny. I feel like you guys have kind of stepped in at the right time. You got your foot through the door, because I see this list that Harloff puts out of rookies that are coming in, and I'm thinking to myself, it's about to get really crowded. But you guys have names right now. Your names hold weight. So how does that feel, knowing that there's a whole crop of rookies coming for both of you, but also that you are a little bit established at the same time?
Well, for me, I don't feel like I'm established enough, because I only was able to play 2 matches this year, where I was hoping to get in, win a match, continue, just keep on going. But, COVID, like it did everything else in the world, just kind of shut us down. So had to sit there and play the waiting game. I didn't get, my first match until like June, July. I can't remember. It was something like that.
And you got traded around during the deadline.
Yeah,
right?
I had one trade there. Yeah. So yeah, it's I'm 1-1 in the league, but I feel like I wasn't able to cement myself the way I wanted to. Especially coming out in that first match, I didn't play up to my ability in that first match. And it's probably nerves playing, Christian.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, do you think it was nerves that was happening?
I'm sure. The first round, how it is, sometimes you just get hit with stuff you don't know. And it just happened to be a couple movies in there that I didn't know, and a couple easy mistakes that I made in that match, that I was kicking myself afterwards. But yeah, sitting like this across from Christian and Mark for the first time, it probably definitely had an effect on me. But I was able to, calm myself and control myself enough to sweep round 3 and move on. And I think I showed a much better performance in my loss against William Bibiani than I did even in my win against Frank Moran. Because I could have easily, won that match against Bibiani had I made had not made one crucial error there in the second round. It would have at least forced him to hit a 5-pointer. But alas, it is what it is. But exactly. I'm hoping that, this season, hopefully, I get picked up again. You never know what's going to happen with all these rookies coming in. Like you say, you might see teams that are wanting to draft the next Adam Collins and take flyers on some of these new people.
There you go.
But we'll see what happens. I just know that once I get my opportunity, I can't miss it.
Yeah, man. No, I one of the things that I honestly love that they're giving such opportunities to the rookies. I think we had a very good freshman class. Mm-hmm. Look, a rookie won, the whole shit. He won the whole shit, And,
make it all bad, man.
No, not even that. I feel like he crushed it, and he's such a cool dude, man. He's just a very mellowed out, chill dude that just knows his fucking shit, But I love it. I love exactly what Kyle just said. We're established. Again, I'm not gonna lie. I've had some managers reach out, but nothing is set in concrete. Right. I know I'm gonna go into the draft. I don't think I'm gonna be in the free agency signing. To be completely honest with you, I've had talk, but I feel like I am gonna be going into the draft. Like that's. Do I feel like I will be picked up? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's gonna be like a cement pick. Obviously there's so many. Established players already, and this is our first year. We, and I always go back to a lot of rookie a lot of rookie showings or first year showings when you go to you see what your Batemans did and what your Rokas did their first year and things and like that, and you just kind of like you're like, all right, so if they were here on this level, if I keep busting my ass and studying and doing what I got to do, I can be them, you know, in 2 years or this season or and whatnot, you know.
Yeah.
I love this thing. I'm so happy to be a part of it. I was obsessed with it. Like I still am, obviously, but I was completely obsessed with the Schmodown where I couldn't miss an episode. We were talking about it all the time. I have the game on my phone and just practice on the game over and over again. And I feel like it's going to be a great year. The only thing, again, what you said on COVID was like hitting the nail on the head. It sucked. You said that seeing Mark and Christian, obviously, and you know your nerves kind of probably kicked in. What made me calm was actually them, because I knew that I had to face, you know, a Jim Bevada, which you know it was an established player, Tom, all that stuff. So I was more nervous about facing them than being one-on-one with Christian, because again, I managed to hang out with, you know, talk to Christian on Twitter, or when we would see each other in person, he was just always very nice. He would take his time and pull me to the side, and we'd have, you know, 10, 15-minute conversations back and forth, this and that and that. I've actually hung out with Ellis multiple times. The night before the draft, I went out with Dagnino and Ellis. Like, I know anybody in town. You know, I didn't know Janine, and I didn't know Rachel, and, you know, I didn't know anyone. You know, and as soon as I touched down, Ellis was like, hey, man, I'm at the Comedy Store. Come through. And I went with him. Dagnino showed up after, and I hung out with them the whole night right before the draft, you know. So yeah, once I finally, and obviously when I went to, I know you couldn't make it to the in-studio match. I lucked out by a week. I literally lucked out by a week.
I missed out by like a day. I was flying in, and the match got canceled 20 minutes before my plane hit the ground. So yeah, that was a fun one, and yeah, so I'm stuck in LA for a week, and you can't even leave the house. It's like, oh, that's the best. That's a good time in LA, isn't it?
But let's transition away from Schmodown for a second here, James. I want you to kind of introduce yourself to our audience. Like, who are you? Where do you come from? What do you do? Where do you live in this country? Like, tell people what you want them to know about you.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Florida, but I'm born in Maryland, where I'm living now. So that's why I'm one of the few Orioles fans around. But yeah, so that's where the Gator came from. You know, I went to the University of Florida, so I'm a big Gators fan down there in Florida. I still got a ton of family down there. I don't want to see that. Get that out of here. So yeah, I still got a ton of family down there. I still go down a couple times a year. Unfortunately, not this year because of everything. But yeah, living here on the East Coast, just, you know, loving movies and trying to make my way in the world, you know, just like the rest of us, trying to stay safe right now because, you know, it's crazy. I'm a bartender, so kind of stuck out there in the front right now as it is when I'm at work, but trying to, you know.
Oh, we have something in common.
Yeah.
You know, Jader, it's funny because he's probably one of our few Florida guests that we've actually had. We usually don't have people from Florida on our show.
Yeah, they're hard to find. Nobody wants to admit that they're from there.
I'm a proud Miami guy. I don't want to say Florida boy, but I'm a proud Miami guy. I love saying where I'm from.
Yeah, man. I grew up in Brevard County, so over there, Space Coast Center, the Space Center and the Space Coast. So Florida's a weird state, man, because there's so many different places. Like you have the South in Florida, if you're up in the Panhandle and like Northern Florida, and then you go down to Miami and it's Little Havana, and you get into to Fort Myers and all that, and it's like retirees. It's a weird state.
Yeah, it is a very weird state. It's so extreme. It's so extreme. The different type of people it is a huge melting pot of just extreme shit here. But yeah,
it's like a sea of old people in the middle, surrounded by all these different groups of people from young to different ethnicities and all that. But in the middle, it's just a bunch of retired people that you have to kind of swim through.
Or tourists.
Just drive really fast through those.
While they're driving slow.
Yeah, dude.
So Otherwise, let's talk about this. So, James, when Jader asked you to come on the show, there was one movie that you said that you wanted to talk about, and we're just going to jump right into it, and that's The Way, Way Back. So, why is this the movie that you chose? Because it's funny, I love this movie too, and it's one of these movies that I've revisited almost every year since I've seen it. But I want to hear why you connect to it first.
It's one of those movies that I don't think it's looked at nearly enough. When I hear people talking about movies and independent films or Searchlight movies, I don't hear The Way, Way Back brought up a lot. And it's one of those movies that anytime that somebody asks me to recommend something or hey, I need to watch a movie, what should I watch? I always say The Way, Way Back because I think it needs to get a lot more eyes on it. It's a really heartwarming coming of age story that's just hilariously funny. It's got a lot of good dramatic moments. And it's just a fun movie from beginning to end. And it always
Ben Affleck was great in it.
It always leaves me really, really happy at the end of the movie. It's one of those movies that any time that I'm just kind of feeling down or I just not having a great day, I can pop that on and just feel good by the end of it. It's a nice, tight 100-minute movie. It's great.
It makes you feel like there's good people around. And I think what I really connected to the most, and I think we're probably all going to have the same opinion, is Sam Rockwell. Yeah. Having that guy out there who's he's a good person. Yeah, he's got some of his flaws, but he's that person who's going to encourage you, always going to be there for you. And when we're feeling down or lonely, that's someone that we can kind of connect to as, he would understand me if I were to meet him. I want to meet someone like that. And I don't know about you guys, but that was the one thing that really sucked the first time I watched it. And then as you get more and more familiar with film, you're like, damn, Steve Carell can play a dick really good. Or I've never seen Liam James again. Like there's so many things that go through your mind as you watch it. Jader, that brings me to you. This is your first time seeing this movie.
It was,
your experience.
It was. Let me tell you, I've heard of this film. I saw the trailer for this film. I knew it came out in theater the whole night, and I like these movies. I like your coming of age, kind of like, it's not a dark comedy, but your drama comedies and all that. I really enjoy these films. I never got around to it. It came out, and it was just one of those movies that just fell by the side, and it never happened for me. I had chances to watch this movie, but there was always something that I wanted to see more. But I felt like I did see this movie at the right time. And what I mean by that is I resonated with a lot of these characters, especially Duncan, and not on a me level, not on that's how I am. I saw Duncan like my son, right? Again, as many of you know, my son is on the spectrum. He's high on the spectrum, but he is on the spectrum. I'm not saying that Duncan is autistic in the movie, but he has a lot of the autistic characteristics. The loner, just the way he is. He's just very to himself, very like hermit crab, and a lot of autistic kids are like that, right? And he can even be awkward. And there's a lot of situations where he was just so good at being awkward, where I kind of saw Adrian watching this film, and I was like, man, I wonder if Adrian's going to be like this growing up, And I honestly, and we'll talk about this later, I added a category for this a little bit later, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But just the way that the opening scene to me,
yes,
immediately I wanted to punch Steve Carell in the face.
And that opening scene is autobiographical.
Yeah, is it?
Yeah, Jim Rash wrote that because his stepfather asked him the same question when he was 14.
Yes. Holy shit, dude.
Yeah.
Holy shit. It really hits hard at the end when Duncan is crying to Owen on the top of in the lifeguard vest. And he's like, he called me a 3. Who does that to a person? And you're like, yeah, that's like to use words that hit so hard to really demoralize. Like there was no reason for Steve Carell's character to do that, but to demoralize Duncan, but to bring him down.
Exactly.
He knows that by saying
he was such a bastard about it too, because everybody was knocked out of the car. Like he wouldn't do that shit in front of the mom. You get me? In front of Toni Collette, which she was the whole cast. Honestly, this was one of the toughest lists for me to do because there's so many standouts and so many great characters in this. But going back to that scene, just that opening scene alone, I was like, is this one of these where he's just being a prick, or he's I'm gonna push you to do better, like what Sam Rockwell does to him. He's like, I'm gonna say something that's that low so he can see that he is more than a 3. So I didn't know how to take it at first, but obviously in retrospect, you're a piece of shit. And I'm in my head, I'm like, I would fucking kill him if anyone speaks to my kid this way.
Yes.
Like we're gonna have issues, you know? So I again took it more on a personal level because I'm like, I want to be the Sam Rockwell to Duncan, to my son, to Adrian, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it hit me, and I feel like I needed to watch this movie now because again, my son was 2 when this movie came out. I don't think it would have hit me the same as I see it now. So I honestly, straight up, wanted to thank you for picking this movie because it really took me by surprise. And it's exactly what you said. It's a movie that had me, again, it was sad when, you know, I felt like bad when you needed to feel bad, but it left the biggest smile on my face. It really did. It's such a great film. I actually wrote that on Facebook that I was like, if you guys have not seen this movie, jump on the show. That's why I kind of want to keep it spoiler free, even though it's been out for a little bit. Just in case people haven't seen this movie, because it's one of these movies that it definitely, and I will be recommending it nonstop now to whoever. Hey, what movie do I watch? The way back, get back to me. It made me feel like the first time I saw Peanut Butter Falcon. It was one of those movies that I felt like it was just a feel good movie with obviously thematic elements in it. But I feel like it was equivalent to just a movie reciprocating a hug to you. Like it's just a movie that hugs you and you're just like, this is great.
This feels like a warm blanket sometimes.
It is. It was great. I absolutely love this.
I feel like one of the reasons why it feels that way too is the whole vacation aspect of it. It's an escape. You feel like you could go to
You're on this journey with them.
Yes.
You know?
And from the moment it's called the way back because he sits in the way back of that car driving the entire time. And you can feel just how distant it's like a symbol. He's so distant and turned away from the world because he doesn't feel like people care about him. He doesn't know how to act in this world. And Liam James, he really nails the awkwardness.
He does.
From the way he walks to having his arms slightly bent when he dances, when he's having a conversation and can't get a word out, you really feel like this is actually not Liam James acting. This is Liam James himself. That's how great he is as this. And I feel like that goes for a lot of the cast as we go down the list. With Sam Rockwell just being this bundle of joy that you feel like you can connect with. Steve Carell, if I didn't know Steve Carell from The Office, I would have thought that he is the biggest douchebag in the world.
From any other movie. And honestly, my Steph said it. Steph was watching the movie. And she's like, I hate him in this movie. She goes, she's so lucky that I watch The Office all the time. And I know he's not this person. She goes, but he's such a piece of shit in this. And I'm like, absolutely. Like
he's a 40-year-old virgin.
Like, yeah, no, exactly. No, and she obviously goes back to her 40-Year-Old Virgin is one of her, she said it many times. Well, on the times that she was on the show, 40-Year-Old Virgin is one of her favorite movies of all time. She can quote that movie back, forward, all around, right? Mm-hmm. And she was like, I have never seen him in this light. And she mentioned the movie Dan in Real Life, which I haven't seen either. Mm-hmm. And she's like, this has a Dan in Real Life vibe to it. She's like, but he's Duncan. He's Duncan in that movie. So she's like, I thought it was going to be a laugh out loud comedy. She goes, it has its funny moments. She goes, but it's overall drama. She goes, it's a really good film. You have to see that because I haven't seen that. So I'm probably going to put it on the queue this week to catch up with that. But he was such a prick in this. Mm-hmm. Prick.
Yeah,
and he doesn't, there's no redeeming arc for him. He just stays that way the whole movie where I'm like, because it's Steve Carell. He's such a lovable actor, you know, and we always like, he's always the opposite role, which was great. He did fantastic in this, right? It's just, he sucked. He sucked.
I think that it's kind of a point to not have a redemption arc for him though, because, you know, if he had a redemption, then everything else around the movie would have suffered. You let him stay a dick and everything else just kind of rises around him. But, and a good movie needs a good antagonist, and he's a damn good antagonist in this.
And he really affects all the characters. And like someone I want to shout out is Toni Collette in this. Toni Collette, what her character goes through is very real for a lot of single moms out there.
Single moms, yep.
I
absolutely agree, man.
they do, where you make decisions. We're actually just women who have been cheated on before. You make decisions for other reasons other than happiness, and it really, like, it can affect your personal well-being if you don't make the right choices. And I felt that from Toni Collette. You could see her slowly collapsing as the film goes on.
And that, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I like that they didn't write her as a naive, blind person.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of feel that in the beginning where you're like, do you not see? But she sees it from the very beginning. If you pay attention, like when when Steve Carell's doing his thing, right, and Duncan sees it, and he comes back and he tosses her the marshmallows. And then Amanda Pete's character comes back and throws her the thing. Like when she sees Amanda, she goes, "Oh, you've gone all this time, and all you brought was the marshmallows." And then Amanda Pete's character comes right behind him, like kind of like fixing herself. You can see her eyes kind of like, "What did I just see?" And she's like, and she also had that "not again" face. Where I'm like, okay, so she's not gonna be in denial, because I thought what was gonna happen was that Duncan was gonna tell her, and she was like, "Are you crazy? You just don't like him, yada yada yada." But that wasn't the case at all. It was very realistic writing,
Mm-hmm.
And then again, slowly starts crumbling when he, the thing that happens, and he's gone, and then I forget this guy's last name. Rob Corddry, and he's saying that the boat's been out for weeks, and just that light bulb comes on where she needs to take that breath. And I love the way that Duncan just steps up and be like, "Hey, like, I know and you're better than this. Wake up." And then she doesn't want to cause a scene. That's the only part where I'm like, I understand. But the way that Duncan defends his mom, because it's something that I would absolutely do. Again, growing up with a single mom, like my mom,
and you hear they're in a very tiny home with each other, a single apartment with one
where
bed.
she's obviously the outsider, doesn't know anyone there. The only person she really has is her son, and the way he stands up for her. And then Steve Carell kind of like, hey, telling him to calm down, and he shoves him, and he's like, "Don't touch me! Like you did, like basically you disrespected my mom. Like what the fuck's wrong with you?" I loved that scene so much because again, it was heartbreaking, but at the same time, a little relieving that you had this shy kid that is very awkward and doesn't say much throughout the film, but he when the time came, he stepped up for his mom.
And it's something that he wouldn't have done a week earlier while they're there. It's something that it took him, being around Owen and being around all these people that have kind of gotten him out of his shell. I think it took that for him to stand up to Trent. It's something that it wouldn't have done, when they first got there. He's probably had these feelings for a long time, building up inside of him. But it took coming out of his shell, and it took getting more self-confidence for him to stand up and take his mom's side and make sure that, hey, you're not going to hurt her. You stand back. We're even,
He takes the abuse throughout the film. And this is what I really like about this film too, is the subtleties. It's not over the top, I'm going to demoralize you. It's the little things. It's, "Hey, buddy, were you laying on my car?" Calling him buddy, first of all, is very even though he doesn't like you. And then laying on top of the car and you put a dent in it, even though he knows he put a dent in it, he's like, "Oh, it just must have been the bags." Or the worst thing is making him wear the life vest on the boat when no one else is wearing a life vest.
Shittiest. And he goes, "We don't need to worry about him."
Yes.
Or something like that. I can't say verbatim, but I remember he said like it was something of the sort. Like,
so this way nobody has to worry about you.
Oh my God, bro. I was like, "You fucking asshole, man." Dude.
And then freaks out about Candyland, and
I actually, someone texted me at that time, so I missed the beginning of that Candyland scene. And then I see Toni Collette, he's like, "Oh, we should just break the rules." And I'm like, "What happened?" So she told me what happened, that he only moved that one piece and all that. And I was like, "What the? Who cares, bro?"
It's Candyland, man. It's just Candyland.
It's just serious because it's fucking Candyland, But yeah, dude, I can't recommend this movie enough now. I actually want to I'll probably watch it again by the end of this week because I loved it so much.
Mm-hmm. That makes me so happy.
You want to go to that water park. I really want to live in that water park. Even though it doesn't look like there's anything too different about it as compared to other water parks, it feels like home. It feels like something I wish I had one in my hometown where I could just go to whenever I feel like it. Everybody knows each other there. They skip. I've noticed this. Those 3 kids skip lines like crazy, and nobody cares.
Well, nobody cares.
They do have a small line on the announcement that says that you can get a priority pass for whatever it was. It was when Caitlin was doing one of the PA announcements and said, yeah, if you want to skip the lines, have a priority pass. So in my headcanon, they all have priority passes, and they're just walking up to the front.
Okay.
That water park definitely reminds me of Wet and Wild in Orlando. Sadly, now deceased.
Yeah, I'm like, that doesn't exist no more. I mean, we still have in West Palm, we have the Rapids water park. It reminded me of the Rapids. So I was just like, man, I got to go to the Rapids now with the kids, man.
Yeah, I miss going to Wet and Wild over the summers, man. That was the best.
Tell you, I might get shunned for saying this shit, but there's so much praise for Adventureland with Jesse Eisenberg and Kristen Stewart, and I thought this was it has that same feel to this, and even though I think Adventureland came out when, like 2010 or 11, around there,
something like that.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of Adventureland. Like I didn't like that movie. I thought it was very dull, boring. So I thought this probably one of the, I guess subconsciously, one of the reasons I was probably avoiding it. Water park, theme park, the whole nine, And I was kind of like so let down with Adventureland. I didn't care. This shits on that movie 10 out of 10 times. Like, it's just a way better film. But I don't know if you guys want to start jumping into the categories.
Yeah, let's take a dive into it. So we're gonna jump into our categories here. Our first one, as always, is best scene. One of the big ones immediately. James, you are a guest, and you've seen this movie probably more than all of us. What is the best?
Combined.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually the scene you alluded to earlier. It's Duncan and Owen at the top of the lifeguard stand having that conversation about he called me a 3. Okay. Liam James just crushes that scene. And Sam Rockwell crushes every scene he's ever in. So, I mean, the two of them there, it's so powerful to see, the anguish in his face. And it's almost reminiscent to me of Good Will Hunting. Sam Rockwell is like, it's
Robin Williams.
Yeah, it's not your fault. Like, there's so much empathy in his eyes and his delivery. You can tell that, he had something, like that happen to him. He probably had an abusive father or stepfather. It's kind of said in dialogue. He's like, just trust me, I know. So he knows exactly. Yeah. It's something that he was able to just convey all that empathy in a short scene. It's not really long, but it's so powerful. Like I said, Liam James just absolutely just crushes it. He's brought to tears. Every line that he delivers has just an honesty to it. It doesn't feel like he's overacting. It feels like a real 14-year-old kid is just going through hell and he needed some help, and Owen's there to give it to him. He's just there with some sage advice, a shoulder to cry on, and some really just a strong male role model. He's like that older brother, that father figure that he really needed, and he lives up to that role.
I'm gonna go with another Sam Rockwell and Duncan scene. I'm gonna go with the first time they meet at that little pizza shop while he's playing Pac-Man. I love this scene because it establishes my quarter. It establishes right away just the type of person Sam Rockwell is. This strange boy just walks over to you and watches you play Pac-Man, and instead of you saying, "Hey, get away," or just not talking to him at all, here, take my quarter. Don't follow patterns in life. Go ahead. I want to see my name at the top of this, and then I'll see you again. Like, immediately, you're like, this is a good person. This is somebody that this kid needs. And you see their dynamic right away. Liam James is kind of thrown off by it. Duncan is. He's a little thrown off by it. Oh, wow. Why is this person being so nice to me? And you can tell that Owen sees something inside of Duncan immediately, and that's why I love this scene so much. It's good. The banter is great. I know most of this film with Sam Rockwell is improvised, so to even think about that on top of it, that Sam Rockwell is able to come up with these lines that just feel so natural, it makes it even better. So that's why this is my favorite scene. And then Jader, we're gonna throw it to
you. James kind of took my scene, but I had a backup just in case somebody picked it. I honestly. No. It's not that. It's not that. It's such a great scene, but I just want to shine light on the pop lock scene. So the first day on the job, they're dancing on cardboard. They can't do that. There's liability, XYZ, whatever. And Maya Rudolph goes to Sam Rockwell, and Sam Rockwell, being Owen, the character that he is just like, hey, kid, first day on the job, go take care of that shit, And I love it. Was Maya Rudolph did say it when she goes, "You got lucky that it didn't turn out to be anything else." But just the way Owen was like, I mean, not Owen, I'm sorry, Duncan kind of went in there being himself, but he was just like, again, and this is why I kind of think he did have autism, even though they didn't say it, is because he took everything so literal, which is something autistic kids do, right? I don't know if I said the story, and this is a slight deviation to what we're talking about, but I remember one time my son hit his sister, my daughter, right? Just hit her in the face. And I had to give him that we don't hit girls talk and this. And oh, no, actually, before that, I'm sorry. This is the point of the story. So he hit her and I grab him and I'm pissed, obviously. And I'm like, hit her again. And he looks at me, he goes, all right, boom, smack the shit out of her again. But it's because he took what I said literal, and he does that all the time. Like now, when I say something in a joking manner, I smile at him and he goes, is this a joke, Dad? And I was like, yes. And then he goes, oh, okay. So that's kind of like, so I noticed that he takes everything literal. And this is another reason why I connected to the Duncan character so much. But that scene where he does it, and I just love that. And again, it's a one-off, and Maya Rudolph said, you got lucky, because that scene was very lucky. How when he's trying to take the cardboard, at least here in Miami, man, usually if something like that shit happens, dude, it's gonna be, those are fighting words. You're gonna end up fighting the person. And everybody here, for the most part, because I have very genuine friends, and I hate that we're so people are stereotypes that we're like mean fucking people, because overall we are a very shallow crowd here. But there are some goodness. Like, I get asked all the time if I'm actually from Miami, because they say that I'm very nice, which I hate that, because I'm like, dude, there's so many nice people around. I have great friends, But anyways, I just loved that crowd. I don't know if they just noticed that he was a little awkward, and then they're like, hey, man, like, I know you're just doing your job, because he obviously had this shirt on. And then they're like, show me your moves. And the way they trying to make him break out of that shell, and how they, knighted him, pop lock. I love that scene, because I'm like, fuck. Like, again, I go back to like, if something like that were to happen here, I wish that my son gets treated this way. I wish that would have been that everyone can be that kind. And that's one thing that I loved about this world, that at I forget the place of the theme park's name, man.
Something
Waterwiz. Yeah, I'm like, Wiz something. Waterwiz. They were just so kind and so just genuinely nice people all around, But I ended up loving that scene, and I loved the scene at the end where he does the slide challenge, and he ends up beating Owen, and just everybody just chanting his name, and he felt wanted. And I just love that, from feeling so shitty right before the beginning of the summer to like him wanting to like not leave, like this was the place where he felt the most comfortable. I just absolutely love like every Duncan scene where he just felt wanted. For me, was like a standout scene where I'm like, fuck yeah, like that's the way the world should be,
Well, that brings me to our next category, best line, because it's going to transition right into what you just said, Jader. Because my pick for best line comes from James's favorite scene while they're up at the top deck, and it's when Owen says to him that there's a world out there for you, Duncan. Don't settle, not yet. And
not yet.
Yeah, that's where Duncan is crying his heart out. I don't want to leave. This is the only place I'm happy. And Owen's showing him that the world, there's other places in this world where you're going to be happy. Don't be scared. Don't settle for here. Like, there's more. You're going to find something out there for you, Duncan, that makes you happy, because you're a special person. And that makes me feel warm inside hearing that line. Don't settle. Always shoot for something better. And I just connected that so well. And like you're alluding to, Jader, with your thing, every time he feels wanted, that's the point where he's felt the most wanted. Is I made it here. I can feel like I can make it anywhere now. And
That was my line.
Is it really?
That was my line. Yeah, dude, I wrote it down. But I mean, I can also go with I love when he's about to do the challenge, right? And he says, "Don't die wondering, man," because they're like, "Oh, I love that line. Don't die wondering." He just dives in there. Love that shit. It was just like a release for him, you know.
Yes.
So this is gonna be very quick because you took my shit. So there you go.
Yeah, perfect. James, what's your best line?
I also would have went with that line, but I do have a backup, and it's more of a line. It's a paragraph, but it is. Return to your lady friend. Duncan, please return to your lady friend. Let her know that we are talking about her. And this is very awkward for you. I love that interaction with Owen on the PA system. Sam Rockwell had so much fun doing the PAs. They said that he would often just improvise picking up the PA system and just start talking on it. And forgetting, that this is a working water park as they're doing this scene, he would often say things that were completely inappropriate. And had the owner had to come over and talk to him because he mentioned, something about herpes one time. And he's like, yeah, this is a family park. You can't be doing that. But
oh my God, dude.
I mean, I would love to see some of those outtakes. But yeah, Sam Rockwell just brought so much comedy to this. So yeah, to go from one end of the spectrum with the line that you guys picked, with there's so much heart and so much just love behind it, to another scene, another line where there's just so much comedy, so much levity, but also a lot of heart to it, because you can tell that him and Roddy both love this kid. They see themselves as younger. They want to help nurture him and break him out of his shell, make him, find out, more about girls and become, a more friendly person, a more open person. And this is just them, being able to tease him. And really you see his response back that, during the scene a little earlier where he's like, well, why are you over here talking to us? He goes, well, why are you over here talking to me? I'll go right back. And you can see that he's finally, kind of a part of the crew at that point.
Kind of like breaking out of the shell and all that. I love that, man. Give me 1 second, guys.
So, I mean, also, like in that same scene too, you see that he's now introducing Susanna to the park, and he gives the same exact speech that Owen gives him to her. Like he's trying to become like Owen because he feels like that's who I need to be like in order to be happy. Yeah, he's got it all figured out in his life. So that's who I want to be. And I love seeing when the way this movie does it happens so naturally. It doesn't feel forced or rushed. You could see that he's taking those little steps every now and then to finally breaking out and being the person he's always really wanted to be.
Mm-hmm. And he's only happy when he's at the park. Like if you see when he gets back home and as he's riding up on his bicycle, every time his face just kind of shifts down and he's just so sad to walk in the door, or he's hiding behind the garage because he doesn't want anybody to see that he's home, waiting for them to go to bed. Then he'll sneak in.
Yep.
He doesn't want to do with anything there because he knows how toxic that household is. It's him and his mom are kind of like in enemy territory because Trent and his daughter, it's their house, their rules, and they just feel like outsiders in their own home.
He never feels comfortable there. And the party scenes are so awkward. Not the party at the lifeguard or at the water park.
Dinner parties.
Yes, I felt that so much. Just like, oh, I don't know any of these people. I don't want to interact with them. And then the mom's like, go get the clams. Go try this. you feel that. You're like, I don't want to eat those clams either. I know what he's feeling. Brings me to casting what ifs. There's really not much when it comes to a small independent movie. There's not many casting what ifs. I did find one, and it's in the directing category. And Sean Levy was originally attached to direct this, but then he went on to do Night at Museum Battle of the Smithsonian. So I feel like we got our right path here with Nat Faxon and Jim Rash. I feel like it made sense for them to direct it, especially with Jim Rash connecting to Duncan so well. And this is kind of his story in a way. So that's why I feel like we got the right directors for it all in the end. But that's going to bring me to the Mahershala Ali Award for Best Sharpshooter. And Jader, I'm going to start with you with this. The character who does the most in the least amount of time.
Betty, which is Allison Janney's character.
Okay.
I loved her so much. Just the opening, like just the way she is, that like kind of cougar-esque, wild lady going in. Like, I don't know. It just every like I don't know. She's just a powerhouse actress for me. Actually, everybody here, because I love Toni Collette so much. I think there's both such great actresses, right? Um, but Betty's character, I don't know what it was that her putting the patch over her kid and worrying about that, and like she was just so funny in the very beginning that she instantly, like, it was one of those characters where I'm like, I like her, you know. So Allison Janney for me was my pick for sharpshooter.
James, who do you got?
I'm going to go with Maya Rudolph.
Okay.
Maya Rudolph as Caitlin really grounds Owen. Like, she's the only one that can kind of get him to act like a human male. I mean, an adult male. Yeah, it's like he's got the Peter Pan syndrome, where he's just wants to be a boy forever. And Caitlin's the only one that can kind of keep him to his actual right age. And Maya Rudolph's always great in everything. So when she shows up for her little 2-minute scenes every 20 minutes, it's always so good. And the love story between them, like, if you're just reading the lines and you're reading the script, it's not really there. It was originally supposed to be a younger actress. It was just going to be like a teenager that works at the park. And then when they cast Maya, they decided they wanted to have some sort of a love story in there. So Jim Rash even told her, it's like, all right, it's not in the script. You guys just kind of have to do it with, the way you say things and do it with glances and looks. And she is able to pull it off perfectly. You can see how much she loves Owen, where, she's only supposed to be there for one summer, and here it is 3 years later because of him. And you feel that relationship between them every time she's on screen.
I actually really like that scene a lot. The way it was the delivery, obviously, because she gets so pissed off with him, right before that scene, and then they had the party scene where everybody just eases up a little bit. Which Jim Rash in that scene with the water guns and all that shit killed me. It was so great. But the way that she said, "I was only supposed to be here for one summer, that it turned into 3. I just wanted to make sure that it's not a complete waste of time, because the reason I stayed was you." And I was just like, "Fuck, bro!" I felt that shit, man. I was like,
earlier when she got pissed off at him.
Do better, dude. Like,
when she got really pissed off at him before, and she goes, "That's it. It's just a job now." It's like,
oh shit, yeah. So I honestly thought the way the story was gonna go, again, being a cliche thing, because we see so many movies like, oh, okay, I can kind of see where this is going. Trent is a dick. He's gonna fall in love with Duncan, and he's gonna be like, holy shit. The mom's gonna look for him one time that he's not around. She sees Sam Rockwell. Rockwell falls in love with her. He becomes a stepdad. I loved that I was completely wrong, because I didn't want that to be like that cliche shit, I love that because when I saw Maya Rudolph, I was like, oh, I don't see them as a couple, like, and then slowly as scenes start happening, and you actually nailed it right there when she says, this is just a job now. I'm like, man, I'm kind of rooting for you guys. I really hope it's not going to be Toni Collette at the end of this movie. I want it to be Maya Rudolph, So,
I love how you say you're going to be spoiler free and then just throw the spoilers all out there.
Sorry, guys.
Here's a spoiler.
Fuck it, bro. I'm sorry.
I went with someone who might be in the movie a little bit too much, but I feel like we need to shout her out, and that's Anna Sophia Robb as Susanna. Because I don't know how often we're going to talk about her throughout this, but when I was younger, when I watched this, she was like instantly became like a celebrity crush right there. Like she understands someone like Duncan. She connects to him, and like there's really they don't take it to the next level with their relationship. It's very slow and natural and progresses the right way. And let me tell you, the moment where he leans in for that kiss, and oh man, you feel that.
I felt it. I was like, no, man, no, go. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, this is not the worst. This is the worst time to do it. Like, you should not have done it right there, man. But everything feels so real. She makes him feel comfortable. And it's because Anna Sophia Robb is such a great actress at this time. Like, it was like maybe a couple months ago, I saw her pop up in this movie called Words on Bathroom Walls. And I'm like, what happened to this woman? Where has she been these past, I don't know how many years? I thought she was going to be the next big thing, something like a Saoirse Ronan or Florence Pugh. Like, what happened to her?
Yeah, she hit it real big, like right out the gate, because of Winn-Dixie and
Terabithia
and Race to Witch Mountain. Like, yeah, she came out strong, and then just the last few years, I actually literally just put Words on Bathroom Walls on my Netflix queue today because I wanted to see how she does in that. But yeah, I'd like to see her on more things. She's a really good actress. She just always has like a very convincing way. She feels genuine in all of her performances. She's a very natural actress.
She is that's why I feel like I don't know if you guys would qualify her for this award, but I feel like she's not in it too much, but in it just enough.
Yeah.
Their conversations feel real, and even them walking around the water park, or the first time they really talk to each other when they're on the balconies of each other's houses, and he ends the conversation with, "I think it's gonna be a really hot summer," and you can tell she's like, okay, this kid's got something. Even though I'm going to go back inside now, he's got something that I'm interested in. She piques her right there. So I really enjoy Anna Sophia Robb in this. We move on to the Bill Murray Award for Best Cameo. Jader, I'm going to throw it to you. And actually, no, James, let's throw it to you this time. Who's your pick for this?
There's not really a cameo.
Yeah, that's what same thing with me.
So the way that I did it was I went with somebody that was also a sharpshooter, somebody who has been very few scenes, and that's Jim Rash himself. Jim Rash as Lewis is only in a handful of scenes, but every one of his deliveries as this miserable person who's just stuck in this place of joy just made me laugh every time. It's like, yeah, your mother. I have 2 dads. So
jokes on you. That I laughed out loud, like bellow laugh out loud. I didn't expect that answer. So
it's like, yeah, you don't have any mesh in it. So if you sit down, your balls will fall out. I learned that one the hard way.
Yeah, no. That I love the scene at the end where he's saying goodbye and he's just there in the background. He goes, "Yeah, I'm still here." That's so great, dude.
I mean, we all know Jim Rash from Community and everything. He's a killer comedic actor. So yeah, every time he was on screen, it just made me laugh and happy.
Yeah, no. Go ahead, Kyle.
No, I mean, it's funny when he gets squirted in the face with the water gun. He's like, my doctor told me not to get water on my face, even though he works at a water park.
Yeah.
So, Jader, you didn't have one for this?
I did. I went with Roddy, actually, which is funny. And it's both the directors. So I went with Roddy, man. I thought he was just a cool fucking sleazeball, but he's sleazy, but not in a sleazy way, but a little sleazy. But just the way he how I love, and that's another scene that I absolutely love. It's when you see Owen kind of copying what Roddy does. Go, hold. Like I loved all that. Where like not Owen. I keep saying Owen, dude. Duncan.
Yeah,
Duncan. Where Duncan's copying everything that Roddy does, but Roddy's he's just a cool guy. He's kind of like the other Owen, and the way he's just again very accepting of Duncan, and even Peter's Peter, the little kid Peter, right, the one with the eye. And how he just lets them in and he's like, let's have some fun. And it's just a back and forth, man. So I thought, again, it was more than a cameo, but he didn't have enough screen. He's probably in the movie like 10, 15 minutes total, probably, So I thought
that was my other pick too.
Yeah. No, mine was Roddy or Lewis. It was going to be either one of those. So that was pretty cool.
So it was hard for me to pick one, and I figured if there's not a clear and obvious answer, might as well go with something fun. So I went with an actor named Jake Picking, who he plays Chad, and it's one of my favorite scenes in the movie where Steph stands up and she's like, "Chad, I want to go in the water," and he's like, "So go
in the
water." Like, say, "I'm throwing my ball" or something like that. Chad,
it's great delivery because you can tell like he just doesn't want to be with her anymore, and also. I want to move on to the Gary Oldman Everyone Award for Best Overacting. It is clearly Steph in this. I think Steph is just way over the top. It's just like, I enjoy therapy. I'm saying it like just being the very stereotypical bitchy like type of sister. Like she thinks she's just too good for everyone else, and that's why I go with her for this. She annoyed me the most out of everybody. I mean, Steve Carell is very annoying, but in a good way because that's how you're supposed to be. Huh?
He has the he's gonna get another award, which again I'm gonna present a little bit later on. If you guys want to talk about that, we will. But yeah, I have Steph for overacting as well. I think it's true. Yeah. There was nobody else in this film that I was like, all right, no, too much. There's no one, honestly. And this is one of the ones that I ended up, holy shit, I have to connect my MacBook before I die. Give me 1 second. Continue. My bad.
I mean, I'm going to hop in here with Steph then too, because the scene at the end when she is trying to wash the dishes for Toni Collette's character, I didn't feel that. That's the only time, like, she's not making a change. it doesn't feel natural. It feels like she's just doing it because her character is supposed to do it. But as a character herself, it doesn't work because I haven't seen an arc for you. I don't see you getting better. Like, Susanna, let's go in the water. It doesn't work. It's super annoying. So she's my pick for Gary Oldman. Everyone overacting. James, what's your pick for this?
Yeah, Steph. I didn't feel overacting from Steph, and I don't actually feel overacting from my choice. But I'm picking Allison Janney just because that character is so over the top. Allison Janney is a wonderful actress. I love her. I love her in this character, but that character is just an 11. So that was my choice for this. I don't think she's overacting. I think she's hitting the nail on the head. It's just like this type of person, much as I think Steph is actually a real person. Like, I can see both of them as being real people and not caricatures. Yeah. But Allison Janney's character is just so crazy. And everything yes, I invited myself. Just deal with it and move on.
I loved her.
Yeah, I love her too. I love her in it. But she's, like I said, she's cranked up to an 11, so that's why I would pick Allison Janney for the Gary Oldman Award.
All right. What do we got?
Are you back, Jader?
Yeah, I'm good. Can you hear me or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Cool.
What, Jader? All right, so I'll jump into this real quick. Next category is usually interesting details, but James kind of nailed two of them I already had, which was the Jim Rash, how this script was inspired by the conversation he had with his own stepfather, and that's kind of inspired the rest of the story. And then also Sam Rockwell making the herpes jokes. It's another great little detail. Another one I had was Steve Carell shot his scene in only 10 days, and he was on vacation while shooting this. So he originally had to turn down the role, but then they found out they're shooting so close to where he's vacationing that he could stop in and do his scenes.
That's awesome. Jim Rash, when he was doing location scouting, he was taking pictures of beach houses of what he wanted, and one of them just happened to be Steve Carell's in-laws' house.
Yeah, it kind of feels natural, right? Like that was always meant to happen. Yeah. Jader, I want to throw you. What is your category that you're introducing? What is this new category?
All right, the new category for this movie, and we can maybe keep it if you guys are down. I mean, if you're down. It's called the See You Next Tuesday Award.
Okay. All right.
And this is definitely going to Steve Carell, bro. I promise you that if I had Trent in front of my face, I would probably knock him the fuck out. Like, and I know I shouldn't be talking this way in my 30s and my 30s and all that, but honestly, he pissed me off so much. And the See You Next Tuesday Award was actually going to go to Stephanie. I actually did feel that when she washed the dishes, I was kind of like, all right, maybe she could change. She didn't. She still deserves this award just like her father did.
You see her right at the end of the movie just saying, what are we doing here?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I hope you're happy. Like all that shit, you know? Like, yeah. So I was just like, oh, no, you're just always going to be, that word. So, but the See You Next Tuesday Award is going to be presented, I think, from now on, or we're just going to pick somebody that sucked during the film.
So Steve Carell See You Next Tuesday Award? Is that what we're naming?
No. So the See You Next Tuesday Award, and I loved it because it was a line in this film that made me laugh so hard. I was like, bro, I've never heard that before, and I think it's so freaking funny. Where we were watching the movie, and Allison Janney's character goes, "Oh, we're not talking to I forgot the family, starts with a K. We're not talking to this family." And then she goes to Toni Collette's character, and she goes, hey, "Are you gonna talk to them? You don't have to not talk to them, but I'm not talking to them." And then they're like, and I don't even want to get into what's going on. Let's just say they called me a See You Next Tuesday to my face. Killed me.
Yes.
Killed me. And I was like, I am writing this shit down. It was going to go for one of my favorite lines, but I wanted to get more heartfelt. But I'm like, that would be a great award to give. I did it with The Boys. With the when we were reviewing The Boys, when I was reviewing the show with Silvestrini and Larry Payne and Chris. Mm-hmm. So we did have this award, but I just love the wording on it so much here, where I'm like, we got to keep this on the show. It's so freaking funny. And there's always that one character that you're going to hate. Usually you'll know who it is, but there's also, we can play around with this so much. So yeah, that's the award, the See You Next Tuesday Award. I don't know if you guys wanted to give it to anybody else. But I feel Steve Carell is the one that deserves it the most in this film.
I mean, if you don't give it to Steve Carell, I don't know, like, if you watch the movie, because He is the prototypical. He's what every kid fears when their mom is single. You don't want this guy who is such a dick, but he's also not a dick in front of your mom, so you can't convince your mom otherwise that he's what he's doing.
He's such a douche name too. No offense to any Trents out there, but Trent's such a douche name.
He's so good in this though. Like it's hard. It's one of those.
No, he's great in it, and that's why you got to give him this award because he's never seen in this light. Like not as far as I can remember, I can't even think of a character where he's like half this bad. You know,
Foxcatcher.
Oh, that's true. Fuck yeah, absolutely, Foxcatcher. He is a dick in that too.
Vice.
What?
Yeah.
Vice.
He's Rumsfeld.
No,
So yeah,
I've never seen Vice. So
this is the douchiest he's ever been in any movie, and I feel like he's never gonna top this. Like this is one of those undiscovered performances that I feel like people are gonna go back to and be like, "That's Steve Carell."
Yeah.
It was kind of the beginning of his dramatic phase because he was doing comedy for quite a while, and then.
Hello.
No, I lost you guys for a sec.
Uh-oh.
You good?
Okay, there we are. All right. Yeah, he was doing comedy for most of his career. Like, Anchorman, 40-Year-Old Virgin, and then The Office. And then out of nowhere comes all this dramatic stuff. And it's Beautiful Boy and Vice and Foxcatcher. They all come along. And now it feels like he's slowly transitioning back to comedy right now. Space Force wasn't very funny at all. But I like to see Steve Carell show both sides. And I feel like this might be it's tough. This might be his best dramatic performance to me because it feels like if he feels like Trent.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he crushes.
Yeah.
Crushes, dude. He crushes.
Yeah, I have nothing to add. It's definitely Steve Carell.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Apex Mountain then. One of our two final big awards. This is the point in someone's career where it never got better for them after this, but they were at the top. They either their best performance or the most pull they had in Hollywood, whatever it may be. You can have to define this award the way you want. And Jader, I'm going to start with you here. Is there anyone who qualifies for Apex Mountain?
It's the guy that I have. It's not that this is his best. It's my favorite of his, and I know that's not the way we award this, but I actually want to give this to Jim Rash. I loved him in Community. I think he was great, but just the story he gave me for me is his best. So far, I know he's written a bunch of shit. I know he's acted in a bunch of shit. I know he's directed, but for me, it's just I love the story that he gave me with this so much. Where I'm like, I don't think, and again, it was just my love for this film. This is because it became instantly one of my favorite films. This is how much I really, really enjoyed watching this. And I'm like, I don't think he's ever gonna,
top it.
Top it, man. I don't think so. I wish he did. Give me something better than this, but I don't think so because I was looking at his IMDb. I know he wrote the screenplay for the Descendants. Mm-hmm. I know he wrote an episode in Community. This movie Downhill, which came out last year.
And Matt Faxon with this award then too, because Jim Rash and Matt are a directing duo. I also had them for this award because of Downhill. I did not like that movie at all. I thought that movie was just annoying. I didn't feel like they understood the characters the way that the original foreign film did, Force du Jour. So looking at them doing the way back as opposed to Downhill, it feels like two completely different things. And as soon as I was done watching this movie for the first time, I wanted to see what else they had done because I felt like they created such a world and a story that I can connect with. I want to connect with more things that they've done. And they really haven't done much. So that's why I feel like this is their apex right here. I also feel like you can throw in Liam James, but also his career is so young at this point that I don't know if it's going to get better for him. But at the same time, what have you guys seen Liam James in ever since this film? Is there anything?
Nope.
He's been doing TV.
And that's the thing.
Killing and something else. I think it was The Killing.
The Killing? Yeah. I just feel like he should
he was in The Killing. Yep.
Yeah.
After this film, I feel like he should have been so much more. Yeah. He just, for some reason, he's not. James, do you have any picks for this category?
Yeah, it's Liam James. That's exactly it.
Okay.
Yeah, he's done a few movies before this. He was in 2012 and a couple other things that are very forgettable. But not only is this just his best performance, I think it is a fantastic performance. It's one of those roles where he has to play this awkward, weird, 14-year-old kid, and he plays a really good, awkward, weird 14-year-old kid. Like, he's so believable as Duncan. I don't know how he is in his real life, if this was a challenge for him to play that. I don't know if he is an outgoing person or if he's more introverted, but he was so believable as Duncan. And like I said earlier on, that scene with him and Sam Rockwell, he has to give so much of himself in that scene. And even the scene confronting Trent, he's just got to be so out there and so big, but not go over the top. And he doesn't. He gets right to the level he needs to be. And it's such a powerful performance from a really young actor. I'm excited to see what he could do. I haven't seen The Killing, so I don't know whether he's doing really well on that show, or I haven't seen the other things that he's been doing with TV. But I want to see him in more things, and maybe down the road he'll do some stuff that is competitive with this. But I think right now this is his best performance by far.
Yeah, I didn't remember that he was from The Killing until right now that you just said I'm like, oh my God, that's who he is. I'm like, because the whole time I was watching the movie, and I didn't want to like IMDb anything right away because I was in the movie. But I'm like, man, I've seen this kid somewhere. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't think I have. I don't know. Because I could have sworn I had it. But I had seen like
Young Sean. If you watch Psych, he was Young Sean for a while when they did like the flashbacks.
No, I've never seen Psych. I hear it's excellent. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I just started watching that like last year, so I'm like 5 seasons deep, and like in season 5, it changes to a new kid. But yeah, he does like the first 4 seasons of the flashbacks.
Yeah, I feel like Logan Lerman stole his career. Like, it was right there for him, and Lerman just stepped right in, and then he's like, "All right, I'll try again." And then Dylan O'Brien's like, "Just hold on a sec, just
hold on, bro."
Yeah, just maybe wait a couple more years. It sucks because Liam James is a great actor. I want to see what he does next, but it's just, I don't know. It hasn't gotten better for him yet when I would have expected it to.
Yeah, there's a lot of competition for that age group right now.
Yes.
You have a lot of really talented young actors around that same age, so it's a pretty competitive field right now.
Yeah. And let's end this show with who won the movie. James, you're a guest. Who's the pick? I feel like this pick is kind of obvious, but let's see what we say. Who's your pick for this?
Yeah, this is the Sam Rockwell Award.
It's the Sam Rockwell Award.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I mean,
it's unanimous, right?
It can't be anybody other than Sam Rockwell. The first time I saw this, I didn't know the story, and I got nervous when Sam offers him the ride. I was like, oh no, is this going to be like a creepy guy? And when he dropped him off, and I was like, all right, then I can take that breath, that sigh of relief. And then you just love Sam Rockwell for the entire movie. And every subsequent times, like, I want a friend like him. I want to be like him, where I'm just accepting of absolutely everybody and just try to nurture their weirdness. We all need a little bit more of Owen, in us.
Absolutely.
Jader, is this your pick too?
It was, but you know what? Let's switch it around, man. I'll give this award to Liam James. I think he was such a standout. Yeah, we all want to be like Owen, but just Liam James, Duncan's story for me was what really, really did capture me. Again, just resonating, grabbing on, just seeing my son in him, and seeing him being able to break out of that shell. And the journey that Liam took us on for me was like, again, I've said this before, where sometimes the audience is the real winner here because this movie was fantastic, but I wanted to see more of Duncan's character. I wanted to see what was going to happen. I didn't want the movie to end, to be completely honest with you. Mm-hmm. I really didn't want that movie to end. I'm like, man, they're going back already. Like, there's so much more to like. It was just phenomenal. So I'll give it to him, man, honestly, because you know what? Let's say he doesn't get that break again. He gave us one hell of a movie, and one hell of a journey. And again, one that I'm going to repeat to a lot of my friends that they should take this journey and watch this film because, it's just, it was just so much great in this movie. Again, directing, the pacing, the writing, acting, it's a great film. Like, honestly, it's fucking awesome.
It's a lot of responsibility for a young actor too, to carry the weight of this film. Like, he has to carry so much of it dramatically, and he kicks it, and just knocks it out of the park.
He knocks it out of the park, bro. He really does. So
I also went with Sam Rockwell, and I think he's the ultimate role model to me. This is somebody that you look up to, that you want to have as your mentor, that you want to have. You feel like he can take on the world with you. And Sam Rockwell just brings out the confidence. And I feel like almost anybody, if he can do it for Duncan, I feel like he could do it for all of us. And it might not be his best performance, Sam Rockwell, but I think it's my favorite. Because, yes, he's great in 3 Billboards and in Moon and everything that he's ever done. Sam Rockwell's just one of the most phenomenal actors we have out there. But this is the movie where when I think of Sam Rockwell, this is the first movie I think of.
Me too.
Yeah, it's number one. I always remember Owen the lifeguard, and I want to go to that water park and run into him, even though it's a movie. It doesn't exist. But Sam Rockwell, I feel like whenever I look back at his career, this is going to be the first movie I ever go to. So Sam Rockwell, to me, easily wins this. Guys, any final thoughts on the way back?
Just watch it.
Yeah.
Okay. I know this is such an underrated film, and I guarantee you a lot of people have not seen me, exactly me included. I was part of the bunch until like 2 days ago. Just go and watch it. I mean, support it any way you can. Just spread that word, even though it's been a long time since it came out. It's been 7 years, but this is just such a phenomenal film. It's a feel good movie. If you ever I've said it earlier, if you ever want a movie to just hug you back and just make you feel good, just watch this.
Yeah, I'm so glad to hear you say that. Like I said, this is the movie that I always recommend because I don't think enough people know about it, and so the more people that I can turn on to this, the better. And to hear that you're a way back convert,
I love it.
It makes me happy. It makes me happy. No, it's one of my favorite movies. It's always there whenever I'm just feeling down, need a movie hug. It's a perfect movie hug, and it's one of those comfort films. It's a big warm blanket, and it's really funny, man. It's got everything you really want to do, like You want to have a cry, you want to have a laugh, you want a smile, you want to do anything. This movie's got it all. And at the end of the day,
I'm sorry. This is literally the second time I've ever used that analogy. The first time I ever used it was when I saw Peanut Butter Falcon, where I was like, "This is a movie just hugged me and said, hey, it's gonna be all right," And this is and it very, very worthy of that analogy. It was fantastic. I can't thank you enough for recommending this movie. To be completely honest with you, there's some films that we've done here, and overall, the people when we have guests, we've seen a lot of movies, So overall, when a guest picks something, we're like, all right, I've seen it. I just got to retouch on it. And so I always like seeing a new film and just loving it the way that I did this one. It just makes this show worth coming on weekly and just discovering new films. So again, thank you for recommending this, Ron. I cannot recommend this enough. It's so great.
And that's going to do it for this episode of the Jader and Kyle Show, guys. Thank you to all of you for joining us, for watching along, all those who have commented along. Thank you guys for taking part of this, and thank you, James, for picking this movie and coming on the show. It was a pleasure to have you, and hope you had a good time. Yeah,
and thank you guys for having me. It was great. I love talking about this movie. I love recommending this movie, and I appreciate you guys, having me on to do that.
Absolutely. Plug what you want to plug, man. What do you have going on in your life?
New season of the Schmodown's coming up, so we'll see, where I land there. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Not so much on Instagram, but at Gator24. It's G4TOR24. And I'll be popping up here, there, and everywhere. You'll see me on the PJ Campbell Network a lot, doing the watch-alongs and doing a lot of the shows on that network as well.
Nice.
Awesome, man. Jader, you got any final things you want to say?
Nope, that's it. You guys know where to find us. Infamous J13 on Instagram, Jader on Facebook. And look out for the Schmodown. We have a draft coming next week. We'll see where we land. I'm excited for this, super excited for this season. And hopefully I get some way back questions, man.
Hopefully it gets me.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
Oh, my God. Guys, thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Another episode of the Jader and Kyle